The massive viewing window of the EGS Prometheus stretched from floor to ceiling, giving Commander Zara Chen an unmatched view of the star-filled space before her. She took a deep breath, her hands resting on the sleek control panel. This wasn't just any ordinary day. This was humanity's biggest moment since they first stepped on the moon. Dark matter core stable at 98.9%, reported Lieutenant Raj from his station, his voice steady despite the tension everyone felt. All systems are running exactly as planned. Zara nodded, her eyes fixed on the shimmering barrier of hyperspace that was about to break. After 6 months of traveling through uncharted space, they were finally reaching Andromeda Alliance territory. The ship hummed beneath her feet, the revolutionary dark matter technology powering their journey with energy that their ancestors could only dream about. "Hyperspace exit in 10 seconds, announced Officer Kim, her fingers dancing across the holographic controls. The bridge crew held their breath. This wasn't just a test run anymore. They were about to show the galaxy what humans could really do. The Prometheus burst into normal space like a whale breaking through waves. The transition was smoother than anything previously achieved by human ships, thanks to the galaxy core technology that had taken Earth's best minds 15 years to perfect. The stars snapped into focus, and there, in the distance, they could see the gleaming outposts of the Andromeda Alliance. Multiple ships detected, called out Security Chief Patel, leaned forward at his station. "They're scrambling to intercept. Looks like we surprised them." On the main screen, they watched as alien patrol ships rushed to form a defensive pattern. The vessels looked like silver teardrops against the black of space, beautiful but almost toy-like compared to the Prometheus. Earth's flagship was easily 3 times their size, its dark hull reflecting starlight in ways that defied conventional physics. "They're hailing us," Officer Kim reported, a slight tremor of excitement in her voice. "Multiple channels. I think we scared them." Zara couldn't help but smile. Just 50 years ago, human astronauts had to couple together rockets just to reach Mars. Now, here they stood, their ship powered by technology that the Alliance had deemed impossible. The dark matter core wasn't just an engine, it was humanity's statement to the cosmos that they wouldn't be held back by what others thought possible. "Open main channel," Zara commanded, straightening her uniform. The crew around her sat a little taller too. They all knew what this moment meant, not just for them, but for every human back on Earth who had dreamed of reaching the stars. The main screen flickered to life, revealing the angular features of an Alliance commander. Their crystalline skin caught the light, creating rainbow patterns that would have been mesmerizing if not for the obvious concern in their multifaceted eyes. "Unknown vessel," the alien's translator conveyed. "You have entered Alliance space in an unregistered ship using unauthorized technology. Explain your presence immediately." Zara stepped forward, her voice clear and confident. "This is Commander Zara Chen of the Earth Global Ship Prometheus. We come in peace, carrying an invitation for the Alliance to witness humanity's latest achievement in space travel technology." The silence that followed was thick with tension. Around her, the bridge crew maintained their positions perfectly, just as they'd trained for months. Through the viewing window, more Alliance ships were arriving, their sensors no doubt going crazy trying to understand how the Prometheus worked. "Impossible," the Alliance commander finally responded. "Our data shows human civilization is at least a century away from developing such technology." Then Zara replied with a slight smile, "I believe it's time to update your data. Request permission to demonstrate our capabilities under Alliance observation." As she waited for their response, Zara could feel the pride radiating from her crew. They'd done it. They'd shown up unannounced in Alliance space, flying a ship that shouldn't exist, powered by technology that rewrote the rules of physics. And this was just the beginning. The Prometheus hung there in space, a testament to human determination and ingenuity, while the Alliance tried to process what they were seeing. Sometimes, Zara thought, the best way to make an entrance was to simply show up and let your actions speak for themselves. High Council member Crixtol stood at the massive window of the Alliance Central Tower, their crystalline fingers pressed against the cool glass as they watched the human ship in the distance. The Prometheus hung there like a dark jewel against the stars, defying everything the Alliance thought they knew about humanity's capabilities. "I remember them so clearly," Crixtol spoke softly to their aide. 50 years ago, when we first discovered their signals, such a young species, still burning fossil fuels, barely able to reach their own moon. They turned away from the window, their face reflecting the soft blue light of the holographic displays filling the room. The eyed, a younger member of their species, pulled up archive footage on the main screen. The images showed grainy video of Earth's first lunar landing, followed by their early Mars missions. According to our calculations, they shouldn't have achieved this level of technology for at least another century, the aide said, confusion evident in their tone. That was our first mistake, Crixtol replied, walking over to their desk. We measured them by our own standards of development. They picked up a data crystal containing the initial scans of the Prometheus. The readings were unlike anything their sensors had ever recorded before. In the meeting chamber next door, Alliance military leaders were arguing loudly. Their voices carried through the walls. A mix of different species, all expressing the same concern. How had they missed this? How had humans made such a leap forward without anyone noticing? Crixtol remembered the first human delegation they'd met, nervous explorers in bulky spacesuits, amazed by even the most basic Alliance technology. Now, barely 5 decades later, they had somehow mastered dark matter manipulation, something the Alliance had deemed theoretically impossible. Pull up the current scans, Crixtol ordered, and the room filled with holographic data about the Prometheus. The ship's energy signature was unlike anything they'd ever seen. It wasn't just advanced, it was revolutionary. The humans hadn't just caught up to Alliance technology, in some ways, they'd surpassed it. Should we be worried? The aide asked, voicing the concern that had been echoing through Alliance halls since the Prometheus appeared. Crixtol walked back to the window, studying the human ship. They noticed how it hadn't taken an aggressive stance, despite clearly being capable of it. The humans had chosen to announce themselves peacefully, even though they could have used their advantage differently. Get me the records of every human interaction we've had, Crixtol said. There's something we're missing. They spent the next hour reviewing files, watching humanity's progress. The patterns began to emerge. Where the Alliance saw limitations, humans saw challenges. Where the scientists said impossible, human researchers asked why not. Look at this, they pointed to a graph showing human technological advancement. Every time they faced a crisis, climate change, resource depletion, population growth, they didn't just solve the problem. They revolutionized their approach to it. The military leaders were still debating next door when an urgent message came through. The humans had requested a formal meeting with the Alliance Council. They'd wanted to demonstrate their ship's capabilities openly, under Alliance supervision. They're not trying to threaten us, Crixtol realized, a smile forming on their crystalline features. They're proud. They want to show us what they've achieved. They remembered the look of wonder on those first human explorers' faces. That same spirit of discovery was still there, just operating at a level no one had expected. As Crixtol prepared for the council meeting, they felt something they hadn't experienced in centuries, genuine excitement. The Alliance had grown comfortable in its position, certain of its technological superiority. Now, a species they had considered primitive had achieved something remarkable, and they had chosen to share it rather than exploit it. Send word to the council, Crixtol instructed their aide. Tell them I recommend we accept the humans' offer for a demonstration. It's time we stopped underestimating our younger neighbors. They took one last look at the Prometheus, its hull somehow both reflecting and absorbing starlight in ways that should have been impossible. Maybe, they thought, impossible wasn't quite what they thought it was. The asteroid field stretched out before the Prometheus like a dancing field of rocks, each one ranging from the size of a car to a small moon. Commander Zara stood calmly at her post, watching as the Alliance observation ships took position at what they considered a safe distance. They think we're crazy, Officer Kim whispered from her station, a hint of amusement in her voice. Their sensors show at least 300 major asteroids in our path. Zara smiled, remembering the shocked faces of the Alliance representatives when she had suggested this demonstration. Let's show them what the Prometheus can really do. She turned to her crew, all of them ready at their stations. Begin gravitational field initialization. The ship hummed to life in a way that still amazed everyone who stood upon her decks. The dark matter core pulsed with energy, sending waves of power through the specially designed systems. Outside, space itself seemed to ripple around the massive vessel. Alliance vessels are broadcasting warnings, Lieutenant Wright reported, trying to hide his grin. They're quite insistent that this course of action is, what did they say? Suicidally foolish. Gravitational fields at full power, announced Chief Engineer Wang from the engine room. Ready to begin on your mark, Commander. Zara took a deep breath, savoring this moment. Take us in quarter speed. Let's give our audience a good show. The Prometheus moved forward, its massive hull gleaming in the starlight. As it approached the first cluster of asteroids, something remarkable happened. Instead of trying to navigate between the rocks, the ship created its own path. The asteroids simply moved aside, gently pushed by invisible forces that bent gravity itself to the ship's will. Recording massive sensor activity from Alliance vessels, Security Chief Patel reported. They're probably trying to figure out how we're doing this. The crew worked in perfect harmony, their months of training showing in every movement. The Prometheus didn't just avoid the asteroids, it conducted a ballet with them, demonstrating complete mastery over gravitational forces that the Alliance had long considered beyond control. Incoming transmission from the lead Alliance vessel, Officer Kim announced. They're asking if we're using actual gravitational manipulation. Put them through, Zara commanded, straightening her uniform. The main screen flickered to life, showing the astonished face of an Alliance scientific observer. This is impossible, the alien scientists stated, their crystalline features reflecting their amazement. Our calculations showed that controlled gravity manipulation at this scale would require energy levels that would tear a ship apart. That was before the galaxy core, Zara replied proudly. Would you like to see what else we can do? Without waiting for a response, she nodded to her crew. Full demonstration pattern, if you please. The Prometheus began to move faster through the asteroid field, now not just pushing rocks aside, but actually using them. The ship created gravitational corridors, temporary asteroid rings, and at one point caused several large rocks to orbit around it like satellites before gently returning them to their original paths. Dark matter core performing at optimal levels, reported Chief Engineer Wang. We could keep this up for weeks if needed. The Alliance ships had fallen completely silent, their senses drinking in every moment of the demonstration. Zara knew what they were seeing, not just advanced technology, but a complete revolution in space travel. The Prometheus wasn't fighting against space, it was working with it, using forces that had previously been seen as obstacles as tools instead. Final maneuver, Zara announced, both to her crew and the watching Alliance vessels. Show them the emergency stop. The Prometheus surged forward, building up speed until it was moving faster than any ship of its size should be able to. Then, just as it seemed it might be getting reckless, the ship simply stopped. No inertia, no strain on the hull, no discomfort for the crew. The gravitational fields had cancelled out all momentum as easily as turning off a light. In the silence that followed, Zara could almost hear the Alliance observers picking their jaws up off their floors. That concludes our basic maneuvering demonstration, she broadcast. We'd be happy to discuss the scientific principles involved at your convenience. As her crew exchanged proud looks, Zara knew they'd achieved their goal. They hadn't just shown off new technology, they'd proven that humanity had earned its place among the stars. And this was just the beginning of what they could do. The news of the human battleship spread through the Alliance communication networks like wildfire. In the grand meeting halls of the Centauri space station, representatives from 100 different species gathered to watch the recorded footage of the Prometheus's demonstration. Look at how it controls the asteroids, whispered a blue-skinned diplomat to their colleague. Our best ships would need a crew of 50 just to plot a safe course through such a field. They did it with minimal effort. The Alliance Council chambers had never been so crowded. Every available screen showed different angles of the human ship, its dark hull somehow both menacing and beautiful. Some representatives watched in awe, others in fear, but all of them knew they were witnessing a turning point in galactic history. High Council member Crixtall stood at the podium, trying to maintain order as voices rose from all corners of the chamber. We must approach this development with careful consideration, they announced, their crystalline form reflecting the light from countless data displays. Careful consideration. A representative from the Orion systems stood up, their scaled skin bristling with concern. A species we considered primitive has suddenly developed technology that breaks half our known laws of physics. What's next? What else have they been developing in secret? The chamber erupted in overlapping voices. Some called for immediate technology exchange programs, eager to learn the secrets of the galaxy core. Others demanded stricter monitoring of Earth, concerned about what other surprises humans might reveal. Our trade federation would welcome closer ties with Earth, announced a representative from the merchant guilds. Think of the possibilities if we combined their innovation with our established networks. But not everyone shared this enthusiasm. In the darker corners of the chamber, representatives from more militant species whispered about containment strategies and preventive measures. The careful balance of power that had kept peace in the Alliance for centuries was showing signs of strain. "We're receiving another transmission from the Prometheus," announced the communication officer. The chamber fell silent as Commander Zara's face appeared on the main screen. The human leader looked confident but not arrogant, powerful but peaceful. "Honorable members of the Alliance," she began, "we understand that our arrival has caused some concern. Earth wishes to extend an invitation to any Alliance scientists who would like to study our galaxy core technology. We believe that sharing knowledge benefits everyone." The offer sent fresh waves of excitement and anxiety through the chamber. The Prometheus had already proven it could outmaneuver any Alliance ship. They could have used this advantage to make demands or threats. Instead, they were offering cooperation. "This is precisely why we should embrace this opportunity," Crixtol spoke up. "When given the chance to dominate, they choose to collaborate. Isn't this exactly the kind of species we want as partners?" The debate continued for hours. Trade representatives calculated the potential benefits of human technology. Military advisors analyzed the footage of the asteroid field demonstration, trying to understand the defensive implications. Scientists eagerly drafted research proposals, while diplomats began preparing cultural exchange programs. In the midst of all this, a young aide rushed up to Crixtol with an urgent message. "Sir, we're detecting unusual communication patterns from the outer colonies. Some of the more conservative elements seem to be coordinating something." Crixtol nodded gravely. They had expected this. Any major shift in power would face resistance from those who benefited from the old order. As they watched the continuing debates in the chamber, they made a mental note to increase security around the Prometheus. Humanity had chosen to approach them as friends, and they would make sure that choice was respected. As the day drew to a close, the Alliance had split into clear factions, those who saw human advancement as an opportunity and those who saw it as a threat. But one thing was certain: the galaxy would never be quite the same again. The arrival of the Prometheus hadn't just demonstrated new technology, it had challenged the very foundations of how the Alliance saw itself and its place in the universe. Commander Zara sat in her private quarters aboard the Prometheus, staring at the data streaming across her tablet. Something wasn't adding up. She'd been reviewing historical records of Earth's technological development, comparing them with Alliance documentation, and she kept finding strange patterns. "Computer, display the timeline of Earth's failed fusion experiments from 2030 to 2040, she commanded. The holographic display flickered to life, showing a series of mysterious laboratory accidents and unexplained equipment failures that had plagued Earth's early energy research. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. "Come in," she called, and Security Chief Patel entered, carrying his own tablet with a concerned look on his face. "Commander, you need to see this," he said, placing his tablet next to hers. "Our deep scan of Alliance communications revealed something interesting. They've been using some kind of low-frequency quantum signal to monitor Earth for decades." Zora's eyes narrowed as she studied the new data. "Show me the signal pattern." As the wavelengths appeared on screen, her suspicions grew stronger. These weren't just monitoring signals, they matched perfectly with the energy signatures present during those mysterious laboratory accidents. "Run a comparison with all major technological setbacks Earth experienced in the last 50 years, she ordered. The computer chirped as it processed the request, and within moments, the evidence was undeniable. Every time Earth had approached a major breakthrough, These signals had appeared, followed by inexplicable failures. "They've been watching us," Zara said quietly, "and not just watching. They've been actively holding us back." She stood up and walked to her window, looking out at the Alliance ships that still monitored the Prometheus. Every time we got close to a major discovery, something would go wrong. Equipment would malfunction, data would be corrupted. "But we still made it," Patel pointed out. "The galaxy core works. We're here." Zara nodded, a small smile forming on her face. "Because we did something they didn't expect. Instead of building on their quantum technology, we went in a completely different direction. They were so busy watching for advancements that looked like their own, they missed what we were actually doing." She pulled up the original galaxy core designs. While the Alliance had focused on quantum manipulation and traditional energy sources, Earth's scientists had looked at the problem differently. They had found a way to harness dark matter, something the Alliance had dismissed as impossible. "Look at these readings from their ships," Patel said, highlighting several data points. "They're still trying to figure out how we did it. They can't comprehend a solution that doesn't follow their established scientific principles." Zara felt a mix of emotions: anger at the deliberate interference, but also pride in humanity's resilience. Despite all the obstacles placed in their path, Earth's scientists had found a way forward. They had turned their limitations into advantages, forcing them to think beyond conventional solutions. "Should we confront them about this?" Patel asked, his hand unconsciously moving to where his sidearm would normally be. "Not yet," Zara replied, her mind already working on a strategy. "This information gives us leverage, but we need to be smart about how we use it. The Alliance isn't united in this deception. I'm willing to bet many of their members don't even know about it." She began drafting a message to Earth Command, carefully outlining their discoveries. The Alliance's attempts to hinder human progress hadn't just failed, they had backfired spectacularly. By forcing humans to find alternative solutions, they had pushed them to develop technology that now surpassed their own in many ways. "Keep monitoring their communications," she instructed Patel. "But let's not change our approach yet. We came here offering friendship and cooperation, and we'll stick to that. Sometimes the best revenge is simply succeeding despite everything they tried to do to stop us." As Patel left, Zara looked again at the Alliance ships in the distance. They thought they knew everything about human capabilities, but they had made one crucial mistake. They had underestimated humanity's greatest strength, the ability to take any obstacle and turn it into an opportunity for innovation. The grand ceremonial hall of the Alliance Central Station sparkled with lights from 1,000 different worlds. The Prometheus's crew stood proudly in their dress uniforms, mingling with representatives from dozens of alien species. It should have been a perfect moment of interstellar cooperation. Officer Kim noticed it first. A slight fluctuation in the station's power grid, barely noticeable to most, but her training on the Prometheus had taught her to spot even the smallest energy irregularities. She caught Commander Zara's eye across the room and gave a supple hand signal. Zara acknowledged with the slightest nod, maintaining her conversation with a group of Alliance scientists who were still asking questions about the galaxy core technology. Her hand casually moved to her communicator, pressing a sequence that would quietly alert the rest of her crew. "Fascinating explanation, Commander," one of the scientists was saying. "But surely the power requirements for such a system would be." They were cut off by a sudden flicker in the station's artificial gravity. Security Chief Patel's voice came through Zara's earpiece, barely a whisper. "Commander, we're detecting unauthorized access attempts in the station's primary systems. They're trying to mask it as a routine power fluctuation." The Alliance security teams seemed oblivious, but Zara could see her crew quietly moving into predetermined positions around the hall. They had drilled for this, though they'd hoped they'd never need to use that training. Multiple breaches detected in the station's defensive screens, Lieutenant Raj reported from the Prometheus. "Someone's trying to create a gap in the shields," reading several small ships approaching through the blind spot. Zara excused herself from the scientists and made her way toward the station's command center. Before she could reach it, the artificial gravity failed completely. Drinks and appetizers floated up from tables as guests began to panic. "Attention all personnel." Her voice boomed through the station's speakers. This station is now under the control of the pure space movement. The human vessel has no place in our galaxy. Surrender now or... The voice cut off abruptly as the Prometheus's defense systems activated. A soft blue field extended from the ship, gently stabilizing the station's gravity and power systems. The attacking ships, expecting to find the station vulnerable, instead found themselves caught in a complex web of gravitational forces. Like trying to throw rocks at a tidal wave, Officer Kim remarked, her fingers dancing over a portable control panel she'd pulled from her formal uniform. The pure space movement ships struggled against the Prometheus's gravitational fields, but they might as well have been trying to fight against space itself. The human vessel's advanced systems didn't just defend, they controlled the very forces that held the universe together. Their weapons are powering up, Patel reported, but there was no concern in his voice. Let them, Zara replied calmly. Just contain the energy. When the enemy ships fired, their weapons' energy was caught in the Prometheus's gravitational fields, transformed, and harmlessly dispersed. The Alliance representatives watched in amazement as the human ship defeated the attack without firing a single shot. Station control restored, Lieutenant Raj announced. Alliance security teams are moving to arrest the infiltrators. The whole incident had lasted less than 5 minutes. As power and normal gravity returned to the station, Zara could see the shock on the faces of the Alliance members. They had just witnessed human technology not just defending against an attack, but doing so with a level of precision and control that seemed impossible. Commander, an Alliance security chief approached her, their crystalline face showing what might have been embarrassment. We owe you and your crew our gratitude, and an apology. Our sensors didn't even detect the threat until it was almost too late. Zara smiled diplomatically. No apology needed. This is why we believe in sharing knowledge and working together. The galaxy is safer when we cooperate rather than compete. As Alliance cleanup crews began setting the ceremonial hall back in order, Zara could hear the excited whispers from various representatives. The Prometheus hadn't just prevented an attack, it had demonstrated a completely new approach to space combat, one that relied on control and precision rather than destructive force. The pure space movement had tried to prove that humans didn't belong among the stars. Instead, they had only succeeded in showing exactly why humanity's presence would make the galaxy a better place for everyone. In the wake of the failed attack, the Prometheus's observation deck had become an unexpected meeting place. Commander Zara sat across from High Council member Crixtol, both of them watching Earth's first sunset from this distant space station. The view was spectacular, but the conversation was even more remarkable. We were wrong about your people, Crixtol admitted, their crystalline features catching the fading light. We thought we were protecting the galaxy by monitoring your development. They paused, choosing their words carefully. We never understood what truly drove your species forward. Zara took a sip from her coffee, a drink that had become surprisingly popular among Alliance species since the Prometheus's arrival. You saw our resource shortages, our climate crisis, our overcrowded cities, she said. But you missed what those challenges created in us. On the screens around them, news feeds showed the aftermath of the pure space movement's attack. But instead of fear or anger, the dominant reaction among Alliance species was fascination. The Prometheus's defensive display had sparked a wave of interest in human technology and culture. Your ship? Crixtol gestured toward where the Prometheus hung in space, visible through the observation window. We thought it was a weapon, a show of force, but it's really a solution, isn't it? A response to problems we never had to face. Zara nodded. Earth was running out of resources. We couldn't afford to waste energy fighting against natural forces like gravity, so we learned to work with them instead. She pulled up a holographic display showing Earth's climate history. When our planet was in crisis, we had two choices: give up or think differently. We chose the latter. The display showed Earth's transformation over the past 50 years, from a planet choked by pollution to one where cities floated on clean energy, where deserts bloomed with advanced farming techniques, where the oceans were healing thanks to revolutionary cleanup technologies. The galaxy core wasn't developed for military purposes, Zara explained. We needed a way to harvest energy directly from spacetime itself because our traditional resources were depleted. We needed better gravity control because our cities were running out of ground space. Every advancement we made came from necessity. Crixtol looked troubled. And our interference, our attempts to slow your progress, actually helped us, Zara finished with a slight smile. When conventional paths were blocked, we had to find new ways forward. Your quantum disruption fields forced us to look beyond quantum mechanics. Your monitoring of our fusion research pushed us to explore dark matter instead. Around them, Alliance scientists and human crew members were already working together, sharing ideas and perspectives. What had started as a tense diplomatic situation was transforming into something neither side had expected: genuine collaboration. Look there, Zora pointed to a group of young Alliance engineers examining a model of the galaxy core. They're not just learning how it works, they're already thinking of ways to improve it. And over there, she gestured to where human scientists were studying Alliance biotechnology with obvious amazement. We're learning just as much from you. The sunset had faded now, replaced by a stunning view of distant stars. Each one represented possibilities that neither humans nor the Alliance had explored yet. The galaxy was vast, and they were beginning to understand that facing its challenges would require both human innovation and Alliance wisdom. Perhaps, Crixtol said thoughtfully, this is why the pure space movement's attack failed so spectacularly. They thought they were protecting something by keeping it unchanged, but the galaxy has never worked that way. Change, adaptation, cooperation, these are the forces that truly shape the universe. Zara stood up, looking out at the stars. That's what we've been trying to show you. The Prometheus isn't just a ship, it's proof that the impossible becomes possible when you're willing to think differently and work together. As they watched, more Alliance ships were arriving at the station, not to monitor or threaten, but to learn and share. The fear was being replaced by something far more powerful: hope for what they could achieve together. The new joint research facility hung in space like a shining wheel, its spokes connecting various laboratories and living quarters. The Prometheus was docked at one of the main ports, its dark hull contrasting with the facility's gleaming white surface. Inside, something unprecedented was taking place. Commander Zara walked through the main research hub, smiling as she passed workstations where human and Alliance scientists worked side by side. Officer Kim was at one station, explaining the principles of gravitational manipulation to an amazed group of alien researchers. The key was stopping thinking of gravity as an obstacle, Kim was saying, her hands moving animatedly as she spoke. Once we saw it as a tool instead of a problem, everything changed. The Alliance scientists nodded, their traditional views of physics being challenged in the most exciting way. In another section, Lieutenant Raj stood before a massive holographic display, working with Alliance engineers to design a new type of space station. The plans showed a structure that would use the galaxy core principles to create its own gravitational field, making artificial gravity generators obsolete. If we combine your bioorganic materials with our gravity control systems, Raj explained, we could build stations that are practically self-sustaining. His Alliance colleagues were already suggesting improvements, their centuries of experience adding new dimensions to human innovation. Security Chief Patel passed by, deep in conversation with the station's Alliance security team. They were developing new protocols that incorporated both human adaptability and Alliance thoroughness. The failed attack by the pure space movement had taught both sides valuable lessons about cooperation. The new shield designs are ready for testing, one of the Alliance security officers announced. They're unlike anything we've ever had before. The designs merged Alliance energy field technology with human gravitational control, creating defensive systems that could protect against threats no one had even imagined yet. In the central atrium, Chief Engineer Wong was leading a team that mixed human and Alliance technicians. They huddled around a prototype of a new engine design, one that would make the revolutionary technology of the Prometheus available to ships of all sizes. Think of it as a miniature galaxy core, Wong explained, pointing to various components. We've simplified the design without losing its essential functions. The Alliance engineers looked on in amazement. What they had once thought impossible was becoming standard technology. Zara made her way to the observation deck, where she found High Council member Crixtol already waiting. Together, they watched as a small test vessel demonstrated the new hybrid technology they'd developed. The ship moved with the precision of Alliance engineering and the innovation of human design. "I never imagined we'd come so far so quickly," Crystal said, their crystalline form reflecting the light of nearby stars. "In just a few months, we've made advances that would have taken decades working separately." "That's the power of working together," Zara replied. "Your people have centuries of experience that we can learn from, and sometimes our fresh perspective helps you see new possibilities in that experience." Below them, in one of the research labs, a breakthrough was taking place. A team of human and Alliance scientists had just successfully tested a new form of communication that used gravitational waves instead of traditional signals. It would revolutionize how ships and stations shared information across vast distances. "The latest reports from Earth are encouraging," Zara mentioned, pulling up a holographic display. It showed how Alliance biotechnology, combined with human environmental engineering, was helping to restore Earth's damaged ecosystems faster than anyone had thought possible. "And our outer colonies are thriving with your gravity control systems," Crystal added. "Places we thought would take generations to make habitable are being transformed in months." As they talked, more ships arrived at the facility. Vessels from other Alliance species who had initially been skeptical but were now eager to participate. The success of the joint venture was drawing attention from across the galaxy. "We're already receiving requests to establish similar facilities in other sectors," Crystal said. "Everyone wants to be part of this new era of cooperation." Looking out at the stars, Zara felt a deep sense of pride. The Prometheus had started as a symbol of human achievement, but it had become something far more important. A bridge between civilizations, proof that the best way forward was together. 1 year after the Prometheus's historic arrival, the view from the Joint Research Facility's main conference room was breathtaking. Dozens of ships, both human and alien, moved gracefully through space, their designs reflecting the successful merger of both civilizations' technologies. Commander Zara stood at the podium, looking out at an audience that would have seemed impossible just 12 months ago. Humans sat alongside representatives from every Alliance species, all gathered to celebrate the official opening of the first Galactic Cooperation Center. "A year ago," Zara began, her voice carrying clearly through the packed hall, "we arrived here in a ship that challenged everything the Alliance thought they knew about physics. Today, we're not here to challenge, we're here to celebrate what we've built together." The massive screens behind her showed images from across the galaxy. New colonies flourishing with combined human-Alliance technology. Earth's cities transformed by alien bioengineering. Alliance worlds adopting human gravity control systems to solve problems that had plagued them for centuries. "The Prometheus was never meant to be just a demonstration of human achievement," she continued. "It was meant to be a first step. A way to show that the impossible becomes possible when we dare to think differently and work together." In the audience, Officer Kim sat next to an Alliance scientist who had become one of her closest friends. Together, they had just finished designing a new type of educational program that would teach the next generation of both species about their combined technologies. Security Chief Patel watched from his position near the door, standing with his Alliance counterpart. Their joint security protocols had become the standard across human and Alliance space, proving that even in matters of defense, cooperation was stronger than competition. "Look at what we've accomplished in just 1 year." Zara gestured to the holographic displays showing their achievements. "We've turned the galaxy core from a single ship's engine into a technology that's helping colonies thrive. We've combined Alliance bioscience with human environmental engineering to heal damaged worlds." Lieutenant Raj smiled from his seat as she mentioned the new colonies. He had just returned from overseeing the construction of a new settlement where humans and Alliance species would live and work together, sharing their knowledge and cultures. "But our greatest achievement isn't technical," Zara continued. "It's the trust we've built, the friendships we formed, the proof that different species from different worlds can come together and create something greater than either could achieve alone." High Council member Crystal nodded from their place in the front row. They had been instrumental in convincing the more conservative Alliance members that cooperation with humans was the path forward. Now, the results spoke for themselves. Today, as we officially open this cooperation center, we're not just celebrating a building or a program. We're celebrating a new way of thinking about our place in the galaxy. We're celebrating the idea that diversity, in thought, in approach, in culture, isn't a weakness. It's our greatest strength. The screen showed new ships under construction, their designs incorporating the best of both civilizations. Medical facilities where human and alliance doctors worked together to cure diseases that had once seemed hopeless. Research stations where scientists from both species made breakthrough after breakthrough. The Prometheus showed us what was possible, Zora concluded, her voice filled with pride and hope. But what we've built together shows us what's next. This isn't the end of our journey, it's just the beginning. The stars are waiting, and together, there's no limit to what we can achieve. As applause filled the hall, Zora looked out at the assembled crowd, humans and aliens, former rivals now partners, all united in their pursuit of knowledge and understanding. The Prometheus had arrived as a surprise, challenging everything the Alliance thought they knew. But it had become something far more important, a symbol of what was possible when fear gave way to curiosity, when competition turned to cooperation, and when different species came together to reach for the stars.